Okay, I hope you're ready for this video. This won't be a short one. I'm going to tie in exactly how I believe Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, Tony West, Kamala Harris. All of these people are linked together with the fraud that we're seeing unfold right now. And I'm going to explain to you how it is. See, it starts way back when Barack Obama was president. When he was president, he was in charge of appointing somebody to the Department of Justice Civil Division. It's Tony West. And you say, well, who's Tony West? It's Kamala Harris's brother-in-law. So he appoints Kamala Harris's brother-in-law, Tony West, but not only does he do that, but he removes the restriction that Congress has to approve any settlement over $100,000. See, Congress used to have to approve that. Once Barack took away that restraint, DOJ can sue for anything with nobody's approval. They could sue for $1 gazillion and Congress doesn't have to approve for a settlement. Why is the settlement important? Because in a settlement, you don't have to disclose all the law firms involved. You just settle. Now, people complain when Tony West was settling all of these cases. They were all minority-based cases. People suing the Justice Department for minority-based this, minority-based that. The Justice Department, what they would do because of Tony West is settle. 50 million, 40 million, a billion, nobody knew because they wouldn't release it because Barack Obama already signed off saying, you don't got to tell nobody. So Kamala Harris's brother-in-law was taking all of this money, giving it to all of these law firms. Now, you know, Barack, he's an attorney. Michelle Obama, she's an attorney. So all of these attorneys out there were getting all of this money from the DOJ now, being fed and loving it. Tony West, another attorney, he's now the head of Uber. That's a whole nother story. We'll talk about that later. He's the head of Uber legal department. But now all of these attorneys are eating right now. Nobody knows how much money is going on. Kind of like with BLM, when people were donating all this money to BLM, but BLM wasn't giving money to the people who it was intended for. That's what these law firms were doing. They were keeping the funds. So people were suing the Justice Department on behalf of minorities. Minorities weren't getting the money, though. The law firms were getting the money. So after they saw how this scheme was working, now you got Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar, Michelle Obama. What was Michelle Obama big for? We got to feed all these kids. This is about nutrition. We got to make sure every kid has a meal. That was Michelle Obama. Ilhan Omar says, oh, we could do that in Minnesota. I'll start a whole new program. So now she's using all of the legalese from Michelle Obama, go to Minnesota. They create this feeding our future, no kid starves. And where did all the money end up? In Kenya, China, Somalia. Who's linked to Kenya? Barack Obama. Kenyan relatives. Who's in China? Tim Walz. He has all these Chinese connections. All the banks in China know who Tim Walz is. He was a big politician. He's got connections over there. So when it came time for the Democrats to choose, after Biden says, I can't do this, they chose Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris linked in with who? The DOJ already, Tony West. He already went to Uber. But guess who's also they're linked in with? Tim Walz in Minnesota through Ilhan Omar. So now you got all of these people who are all linked together, already got previous dealings with each other. The Democrats are like, why don't we run a primary? Barack is like, we're not running a primary. We're going to appoint Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, you're going to choose Tim Walz. Everybody's like, who the hell's Tim Walz? See, Tim Walz has already been deep in it with Ilhan Omar and Michelle Obama's food programs. They've already been deep in scamming already. So they need to choose somebody that can keep it rolling. You can't choose an outside Democrat. You can't choose a Pete Buttigieg or anybody like that because they're going to be like, what the hell is all this going on? Now, when Trump finally won and he came in and he says, we're cleaning this all up, everybody started resigning. The head of Social Security office resigning. All of these people started resigning because they knew the jig was up. All of this money that they were putting up for minorities and putting up for illegals, it was all just being swindled. Nobody was being taken care of. All these cities are going bankrupt right now because the feds weren't funneling this money to it. The states was like, well, we'll fund and you guys reimburse us. And the feds were like, okay, $9 billion is flowing out of this country into over other banks. Now, if any bank here in America was like, We're getting billions and billions of dollars put into our banking system. What the hell's going on? But if you're doing it in China, you're doing it in Kenya, you're doing it in Somalia, you're doing it in Sweden, you're doing it in the Cayman Islands, you're putting this money all over the place. American banks don't know what's up. You can even put it in banks over in Ukraine. Ukraine was kind of getting money on. It's like, hey, we'll help you guys move the money. As long as, we got our man Zelensky in power, we will help you move the money. Everything was happening right in front of everybody's faces. Now they want to claim, oh, it's not as big as what it is. I did a story about this 2 years ago, talking about Tim Walz and Tony West and all of this fraud. 2 years ago, I was talking about it. It's now 2025, and people are finally saying, hey, Tim Walz is involved in fraud. I said it 2 years ago. I said, this dude is in bed with Tony West. Tony West was running fraud at the DOJ. Everybody was talking about investigating Tony West, and all of a sudden it just disappeared. When Trump won, it disappeared. Like, what happened? Were we investigating this guy or what? He was the one scamming the DOJ. He was using minorities to fund all of these law firms who were in turn giving money to Kamala Harris, an attorney, Michelle Obama, attorney, Barack Obama, attorney, Tony West, attorney. So all of our tax dollars are flowing to all these attorneys. Where's the money at? And once Barack Obama already knew Obamacare was a scam from the get-go, he was like, this is going to be too easy. We've got illegals coming in from Somalia, illegals coming in from all over the world. We can have them apply for and use Medicaid, Medicare, all of these services, creating dummy companies and everything else to make sure we trap the tax dollars in our scheme. We don't let the Americans into the scheme. We do the scheme with the people coming into the country that don't know how our laws work. We're the attorneys here. We just need a bunch of patsies. So all of these people in the Somalian community has no idea they were being played. You guys are being used. You got autistic kids, you got hungry kids, you need housing, you need lodging. All of these people were being used by a group of attorneys who had this grand scheme on how to get tax dollars under everybody's noses using programs and NGOs. I'm telling you, this goes way deeper than what a lot of people think. Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are not masterminds. This was a mastermind affair. This right here started at the very, very top a long time ago, knowing we could get tax dollars out of these people if we play by the rules. The only way they could play by the rules is if they got people that didn't really know the rules. You need people who think this is on the up and up, but you're using scams to get there. You're using a collection of people who know exactly how to work through the loopholes. You're getting kickbacks. So a lot of politicians were getting kickbacks. A lot of agencies out there are getting kickbacks. You can't tell me these people saw all that money come through and they didn't know the wiser. You can't tell me that. These are intelligent people with degrees, with experiences in law, with experience in politics, experience in government agencies. And you telling me a group of Somali pirates who probably didn't even have high school educations tricked everybody out of $9 billion? I'm not buying it. Now Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar are sitting on the hot seat and the other people in the backdrop like, yeah, don't say our name. Whatever you do, don't say our names. I said y'all names 2 years ago. I think we better start looking into it.